India is really interesting for CPA Australia. We've had a long-standing relationship with the Institute of Chartered Accountants in India.
As a layman, if I have to understand, CPA is the equivalent of CA?
In the accounting profession, there can be skills gaps that are technical in areas like technology or data analytics.
But traditionally, accountants have been involved in a very highly technical endeavour. So they prepare accounts, they prepare tax returns, what we would call compliance activities. One in India, it's expected from 2024 to 2029, there'll be a compound annual percentage rate increase in demand of 5% for accountants.
Okay.
And in Australia, we've also got a longer study, 2024 to 2034, that predicts there'll be an increased demand of more than 15%.
Welcome to Leadership Lessons, a podcast that brings to you insights from trailblazers redefining industries and shaping tomorrow. I'm your host, Yatin Naik, business head at HT Smartcast. Today, we are exploring how the accounting profession is evolving in response to AI, sustainability, and changing business dynamics. Joining me are two remarkable leaders from CPA Australia, who are at the forefront of preparing the accounting world for the future. Our first guest is Dr. Dale Pinto, President and Chair of CPA Australia's board. We are also joined by Rowena Buddee, Chief Member Experience Officer, CPA Australia. Rowena joined CPA Australia in 2009 and has worked in senior roles across public practice, member education, business development, and commercial portfolios. So let's dive into the conversation about exciting future of accounting. Accounting is no longer about just crunching numbers. It's about driving strategy and innovation. Hi, Del. Hi, Rowena. Welcome to Leadership Lessons.
Thank you
so much.
First thing first, Del, what brought you to India?
Yeah, India is really interesting for CPA Australia. We've had a long-standing relationship with the Institute of Chartered Accountants in India, and we are looking for further opportunities to collaborate. So on this visit, we started our journey at Gift City. We then went on to Delhi and were involved at the World Forum of Accountants, where we presented papers and engaged with local members. And now we're here in Mumbai. So we're looking at ways of helping India achieve its ambitious 2047 target of becoming a $30 trillion economy.
Wow.
And looking at ways we can help bodies like the ICAI. We also signed a MOU with ASSOCHAM while we were here, and looking at ways of collaborating more generally.
Okay, that's fascinating. And Rowena, just tell us, what is CPA Australia? What do you really do?
CPA Australia is a global accounting organisation.
Right.
So we exist to serve our members and the broader accounting profession.
Right.
And so really we have a role as thought leaders coming and driving the conversation around the future of the profession and understanding the skills gaps and how we can continue to keep up with trends. And then we take those insights from markets like India and we go and create content and education products and service both our members and the broader community with that content to help upskill them and keep them ahead in the future.
So as a layman, if I have to understand, CPA is the equivalent of CA, is that so, or IC?
So ICAI is the local body here in India. And they, many of the members learn all of their technical accounting skills as an accountant in India. CPA Australia partners with the ICAI, and we provide opportunities to access a global accounting community. So we have 175,000 members across 100 countries. They're primarily in the Asia Pacific, and so one of the great valuable benefits that we can provide our members is access to that community of like-minded professionals and the ability to connect and understand their learning journeys, but also the challenges and the opportunities that they're having in business.
That's fascinating. So Del, like all professions, I'm sure the role of accountants is changing, right? How do you see the evolution of accountants in the new world?
Yeah, it's a great question because the role has changed. So traditionally, accountants have been involved in a very highly technical endeavour. So they prepare accounts, they prepare tax returns, what we would call compliance activities. That has now fundamentally changed and evolved. Accountants these days are strategic advisors or business partners. They help businesses to make judgments. They have to exercise ethical reasoning. So the whole skills has moved from a technical focus to a much broader interdisciplinary and contemporary skills. And if I can just give you two quick examples, accountants now need to know about emerging things including sustainability. They need to have data literacy. They need to know about cybersecurity. And of course they need to know the core areas of accounting, auditing and tax. But it's a fundamental shift, and that's where a body like CPA can come in to help them on that journey to give them those new skills that they need to be part of the future.
Okay, that's interesting. I'll come to that on the part that you mentioned. But before that, Rowena, as accountants, what is the skill gaps that you're seeing currently, and how are you guys addressing those gaps?
Yeah, well, the role of the accountant is changing faster than ever, and so of course that is going to create skills gaps. And so in the accounting profession, they can be skills gaps that are technical in areas like technology or data analytics, but they can also be areas like behavioural, so strategic thinking and adaptability and some of those types of skills. And so CPA Australia is playing a key role in developing content. So we have core subjects within our program that look at things like global strategy and leadership. And we also have bite-sized learning in micro-credentials, and so we look at both the technical in data analytics, but also in the behavioural. So we have data visualisation and storytelling as a critical micro-credential that's recently launched, because it's very important for the accountant to both use the AI, but then also understand how to then analyse and interpret that data and then tell the story as strategic advisors.
Okay, interesting. Okay. So coming back to the point you made about sustainability, and I want to dig a bit further, sustainability, ESG, all that has become core to or keystone to our business practices today, right? Just talk us through it. How does accounting, fit into that picture?
Yeah, no, it's a great question. So traditionally, of course, accountants have been looking at, income less expenses and what's the profit and the bottom line. Now, of course, we're having to report on sustainability standards as well. Now, many in the profession are viewing this as a compliance burden. It's another thing we have to do. It's another cost the business has to bear. But our view as a professional body and serving the community is we should be looking at it through the lens of how does it actually create value. So you'll be aware the young generation are very conscious about the environment and sustainability, and they want to see that reflected. So in terms of people who want to invest in companies, they want to see that the company is being responsible. So accountants have to now incorporate sustainability as a non-financial indicator as well as the financial indicators to give a really holistic picture of how the business is doing, and that will build trust in the community, and whether that's someone buying shares or whether it's a regulator. And I think that's a fundamental mind shift. People need to think of this more as value creation rather than it being a compliance burden. But it is a big journey, because this is going to be the biggest change, we believe, from debits and credits, is accounting for sustainability, monitoring sustainability, and communicating how it reflects value for the business.
So are there any specific tools, or how do you prepare the accountants for such kind of?
So again, a great question. So we've got an international standards board that sets what the rules are, and countries are adopting this at various rates.
Right.
So in Australia, for example, we have got already mandatory reporting for large companies,
right,
and then it's being phased in, because obviously large companies have bigger accounting departments and can move to new requirements quicker than a small business. So different countries are taking a phased approach, but they're all integrating it into their systems. And in fact, here's an area where AI will be able to help, we believe, in the reporting and compliance side of things, when companies have to account for emissions and then record that, monitor it, and report on it. These will become repetitive tasks, and that's what AI is good at. But we're not there yet, so it's a transitional period, and the rules are being, in most jurisdictions, phased in to allow people to adjust to the new environments.
Right. And so talking about AI, since Dale, you brought that point, and I mean, that is the hot topic, right? AI is disrupting pretty much every profession. How do you see accounting getting disrupted with AI?
Yeah, so I'll start with that one. Yeah. I think our view is clearly, and I'm an optimist.
Yeah.
The headline response to that is we do not believe it will replace accountants. So we actually see it as an opportunity. So let me quickly unpack that for you. So what is AI good at? Mm-hmm. AI is good at automating repetitive tasks. Mm-hmm. So this relieves, in fact, accountants of all the boring work. Mm-hmm. So whether it's digital invoice processing or putting figures for the general ledger, it can do all of that, which is great, because that's the stuff accountants don't like to do. The other thing it can do is analyse large data sets. So if I give you a simple example, auditors typically use sampling methods where they might use 1 or 2 annual reports because realistically that's all they can do. With AI, that limitation's gone. We can plug in 100 reports.
Absolutely.
And what does that give the accountant? It gives him a bigger data set and more reliable information on which to act. What AI can't do yet is reason. AI hasn't got consciousness. AI hasn't got judgment. AI hasn't got ethical posturing. These are all human skills. So this is why we believe accountants will still be needed to make those fundamental decisions and insights to guide a business as it moves forward. And this is where we see the fundamental changing in skills from the technical focus to these broader things that Rowena highlighted, including strategic leadership, judgment, ethical reasoning, risk analysis. So accountants need to evolve with it and not be scared of the technology. So we actually believe, and I'm a tax person, it will relieve us of all the boring work. And to give you 2 statistics which might resonate. So one in India, it's expected from 2024 to 2029 there'll be a compound annual percentage rate increase in demand of 5% for accountants.
Okay.
And in Australia, we've also got a longer study, 2024 to 2034, that predicts there'll be an increased demand of more than 15%. This was undertaken by Victoria University and the Job Skills Authority in Australia. So these are evidentiary statistics, and we have to work out how we're going to develop and train the accountants of the future.
So what you are saying that in the new AI-driven world, you actually see that more as an opportunity rather than it threatening jobs. Is that a right assessment?
Absolutely. Yeah. So I think the opportunity is there, providing we open our minds to it. So I've got 2 sons who are in computer science, and they tell me, Dad, you have to embrace it. You have to play with it. You have to look at what it can and can't do and how it can help you. Don't be scared of it, but use it as a tool. My father used to say, work smarter, not harder. And I think this is a way of enabling accountants to work smarter and to do the higher level advisory and strategic decision making and thinking, what we'd call in Australia the value add.
That's right.
And I think this is where accountants will become more valuable into the future. So certainly I see it as an opportunity.
And therefore, Rowena, so what's the competency or the skill gap that you see for accountants when they have to embrace a AI-driven world?
Yeah, and again, I think this is about making sure that we have well-rounded accountants that understand both the technical, the behavioural, and there's a professional element of this too. And so one of the micro-credentials we've actually got coming down the roadmap is AI in ethics and understanding how those two play a role in decision-making in organisations. And so I think it'll be critical as technology evolves for us to continue to identify these gaps and fill these gaps and keep accountants ahead of these trends as key advisors in business.
Right. And you've let me zoom into specifically from India perspective. You have offices here. You've been working with partners here. Where do you see India in this entire scenario where AI impacting accounting? Where are we currently at? What stage we are at?
I'll start with that, but certainly I think if we take the macro view again, India's got an ambitious plan by 2047 to be a $30 trillion economy. That will place it second in the world on purchasing power parity. Now, to get there, what's going to lead it is going to be services, and a large part of the services are financial services. So the statistic I gave earlier, the 5% compound annual growth rate over the next 5 years, is needed. It's necessary. So that's the macro view. When you look at the context in which that has to happen, we've got a number of things. We've got regulatory complexity, part of which is sustainability standards and the adoption of that. We've got geopolitical uncertainty and unpredictability at the moment, so we're operating in a very uncertain environment. And we've got rapid changes in technology itself. So just the other day, we had the example of DeepSeek suddenly coming out of nowhere. No one expected that. So how do you react to that? How do we adapt to that? But what accountants have to do in that context is to navigate businesses through. We have to enable them to make judgments. And as Rowena said, the ethical decision making is critical here, because there's a lot of things businesses can do, but accountants are there as trusted advisors to tell them what they should do, what is the right thing to do, because we don't only act in the interests of our clients, but we have a broader public and community interest that we need to respond to. So I think accountants as trusted advisors, if you look at CPA's shield, we have one word in it, which is integrity. And if we lose that reputation as a trusted advisor, then we're in trouble. But I think with India, the opportunities are enormous. We just released with ASSOCHAM a business technology report, and that shows India's ahead of the curve. Unsurprisingly to us now, having been here for nearly 10 days, the adoption of AI is much higher in India than in other jurisdictions. So there's still, I think, the fear factor of people thinking, I'm not sure about this, but there's also the cost factor. And also, who's going to tell me how to use it? So there's three factors at play, but India at the moment is running ahead of the game, and local bodies like the ICAI have already invested heavily in AI, and I think you'll continue to see that as we move forward.
That's nice to note. So do you also see it bring in more transparency, it bring in more better governance standards? Moving forward?
Yes. So I think, as Rowena said, a lot of AI. It's like playing a game of cricket. I'll use this example here. You wouldn't go and play a game of cricket unless you knew what the rules were. And currently, like many technological developments, it's running ahead of that. But we promote responsible AI usage. So I think there's a real, not only an opportunity, but a need for accountants to lead and make sure that we create a responsible environment, because our stock in trade is trust. If we lose trust, then we lose the whole ball game. So it's absolutely fundamental to us. So that's why, as my colleague said, we are developing courses in responsible and ethical AI usage. But on the technical side, you've probably heard a lot about blockchain as well, and people are saying, oh, that almost seems like history now. But what's happening is blockchain is all about building trust, verifiable information, and you're seeing that increasingly integrated with AI. So I think as time goes on, you're going to see these technologies integrate and merge, with the end game being trust. Because if you don't have trust, you won't have investors, and the community will not buy into it.
Okay, that's interesting. Are you seeing real world use cases on blockchain? Coming in?
Yeah. So already, in the Australian context, I live in Western Australia, which is a mining town. They're using it in critical minerals tracking and processing. So it's very important to be able to have verifiable tracking of how minerals are going through the supply chain. So supply chain is the classic use case, I think, in accounting, where blockchain is there to help it. But it's that integration piece with AI and the emerging systems which are changing as we speak, that's making it challenging. But I think there's certainly cases for that. So there's a technical solution, but the end of that technical exercise is to build exactly what you've just said, and that's trust.
Okay, interesting. So coming to my maybe a last question to both of you, what do you see as the future of accounting? And especially if I were to ask, say, if you were to ask your 25-year-old self who is just joining this profession, what is the advice you would want to give to him?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I think it's a really exciting time to be in the accounting profession. I think there's a huge opportunity for the profession in areas like sustainability, but we need to be thinking as 25-year-olds about continuing to stay ahead of all of the trends and making sure that we continue to adapt and think about putting on a lifelong learning mindset, and so that we can make sure that we're taking our future in our own hands. But I think, very exciting with technology advancements and sustainability advancements and the opportunity for the future accountant.
Yeah. Anything you would like to add?
Yeah, I'd add. I think, there was a famous song in the 80s, so that's revealing my age. That was, the future's so bright, I've got to wear shades. So I think it's just us selling the message about that. The good thing is, I think, with AI and all these developments, it's liberating accountants of all the mundane, repetitive work, and it's allowing us to get into the value add work, the analytical work, the advisory work, and that's the fun stuff. But for me, there's three words I'd leave you with, which encapsulate it, I think, and that is firstly to, embrace the change. Don't be afraid of going in and playing with AI or learning what this tool does or doesn't do and how it can help you. So embrace would be my first one. Adapt is the second. We need to change. We need to change from technocrats to be advisors, business partners, partners for progress. And the final one would be evolve. Accountants will evolve. They will become strategic business advisors into the future. So I think it's a really exciting time. It is a disruptive time. We accept that. And our job is partly to help our members on the journey, but also to inspire the community that they can continue to regard accountants as trusted advisors.
Okay, interesting. So AI is not coming for accountants as opposed to the popular belief, but that's really fascinating and interesting. Thank you so much for sharing your insights. For me, it was personally quite enriching. Don't come from that kind of field, but yet you gave a fascinating perspective about where accounting is heading. Thank you, Dale and Rowena, for sharing such invaluable insights. It's clear that accounting profession is not just keeping pace with change, it's leading it. From embracing AI and sustainability to evolving into strategic leadership roles, the future of accounting is full of opportunities. To our listeners, thank you for tuning in into Leadership Lessons. Don't forget to subscribe and share this episode with your network. Leadership is about more than navigating change. It's about shaping it. This is Yatin Naik signing off. See you in the next one. Till then, stay inspired, stay curious.